It was a good time to do my Lake Placid race recap. Why not? It was a really good day. I had a very good first experience day for sure. Had no idea what to expect. I only had the stories that Dustin could tell me from his first Lake Placid Ironman. But I was expecting the worst because that's what I do. I anticipate worst case scenarios, and then if it's good, then hey, win, right? So that's what I did. Expected the descent of Keene to be more steep, I guess. But don't get me wrong, and don't underestimate the descent of Keene. You are going down, 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 down for miles, and you pick up speed, and it is scary. And thankfully, it looked like it could have rained that day, but it did not. So that was the scariest worry for me, was rain and the descent of Keene. Wasn't too worried about the swim. So beginning of triathlon, swim started at 6:30. We planted ourselves right about the 120, 125, which actually ended up being spot on. And honestly, they say to get in the water as soon as you can. They had pacer signs out, so we could have probably even been up a little bit further. But first time for me. Lake Placid is almost always wetsuit legal. It was a little bit warmer this year, especially for Lake Placid. The water was almost 75 degrees, I believe. Just under wetsuit, like just barely made wetsuit legal. So had wetsuit on. It's a 2-loop, beautiful swim. Beautiful. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. The cool thing about Lake Placid is that it has a cable that you can follow, which is super cool, and I did follow it, and it was very helpful. However, I'm still a rookie and still had to do a lot of sighting, and I had to learn how to navigate around people. I'm not as good about passing, so I followed behind some people for a while when I could have been passing, and that slowed me down. In my wetsuit, I did get a little warm, but almost everybody was wearing them, so I did wear mine. Lots of kayakers, very helpful. I felt good. As always, it takes me the 20 minutes at least to warm up before I can get into a groove. So it was about a quarter of the way through the swim. So halfway through the first loop until I finally warmed up about when I turned the corner. And there are kayaks everywhere, and they're wonderful, and they're watching, and they're doing their job. On the way back, almost coming in from the second loop, I took on some water. I don't remember if somebody splashed me or whatever. I know I got some slaps to the face and that sort of thing. Like, that's just to be expected. That's just part of being an Ironman. You can't complain about that. Like, this is what you signed up for. It's par for the course, guys. So, expect it. I did. Happened. Fine. I actually have been tucking my goggles in my race cap so that in case they get knocked off, I don't lose them. I think I've seen some of the pros do it. So I did it. Anyway, almost at the end of the second loop, I took on water. And I really was coughing a lot. Like, it was taking me, it's happened before, but this was taking me a while to recover. So I tread water for a while. I'm coughing, sputtering, and immediately a kayaker starts swimming over to me or paddling over to me. Are you okay? Are you okay? And I'm like, yeah. Well, before I said yes, actually, though, I was kind of panicking. Started swimming towards the kayaker because I'm like, I'm not okay. I'm going to have to hang on for a little bit. This is like what every triathlete does not want to do, is hang on to this kayak, right? It's embarrassing. Start making my way to him. He starts making his way to me. And I decide, nope, I'm fine. I'm going on. I'm not hanging on that kayak. I haven't had to do it yet. I'm not going to do it. I'm fine. I put my head down back in the water, still kind of little coughs here and there when I come up out of the water for breaths. But I hear the kayaker that was coming to me say to the next kayaker that I was coming up on, pink hat, white goggles. That was me. They were sending an alert out to keep an eye on me. I was on their watch list, apparently. But it was fine. I recovered. I made it the rest of the way, the second loop, got out of the water for a little bit into the sand, and then went around for my second loop. And surprisingly, my time was a lot faster than I anticipated. I was very happy with my time. I'm a slow swimmer. So a lot of you are probably way faster than me. It was 1:24, 1:25, I believe. So, but I think Lake Placid is known for people being surprised with their time. Maybe, it was good. I got out of the water. They had wetsuit strippers, which I didn't realize that they had since COVID. I have not experienced that yet. That was fun. Got a couple ladies, my necklace. Take your jewelry off, ladies. Well, earrings are okay, I think. It's kind of nice to have something. But necklace, I should have taken off because it got stuck on my wetsuit, and that took some time off. The ladies helped me, and they're very good about it. And I think it's a quarter mile. It's a fairly decent transition run to transition. Run with my wetsuit in hand, get to transition. I had a ridiculously long transition time, like 15 minutes. I was kind of taking my own sweet time, And I really like the way that they set up the transition in Lake Placid. They have a women's tent and a men's tent, changing tents, but it's all covered, and you have to go through them. Like, if you don't want to change, you still go through them, and you sit down and you do all the things. So I did that. My plan, I have been getting some back pain, and I practiced with it. So I took some ibuprofen in the first transition in T1, and that really worked. I took it again in T2 because the timing was just right. I had no back pain. I felt good all day. It really helped. I just had to really make sure I drank plenty of fluids. Because if not, it can be a bad thing. But it was fine. I knew that. I drank plenty. Out of T1 and onto the bike, I, of course, felt great. Fresh legs, still early in the game. Saw my family first thing going out from the bike. And, yeah. It was a little bit of uphill, and then down, and then up. The first time, it's a 2-loop course. The first time going down to Descent of Keene, I was taking it very cautiously because I didn't know what to expect. I did not ride an arrow. I actually rode up the whole first time. And by the second time, I was way more comfortable. I still didn't ride an arrow, but I had my hands on the bars and would come up when I get a little uncomfortable, and then I'd crouch back down. But it made it easier for me to go up and down rather than arrow. And then I'm still learning my T-bikes or triathlon bike, so still a little uneasy sometimes. But I did great, and I felt really comfortable on my bike all day. Quite the climbs on the way back. Just fine, not too bad. The first loop, however, the climb back on the second loop when you're 90-ish miles in, and mile 90, guys, is when I was great until then. And all of a sudden, I hit a wall. Mile 90, I'm like, get me off this bike. I'm done. I want to run. I really want to run. Running's my strength. Actually, it goes from weakest to strongest: swim, bike, run. So each leg of the triathlon, I get a little bit stronger. And I was excited to start my strongest suit. So anyway, I had to make a little a potty stop, and made the mistake of not. I'm like, oh, I'm fine, and I skipped. They had. Every 10 miles, they had aid stations, and every aid station had porta potties, like 10, 12, I don't know, a lot of them. And I never went, and I was like, I'm fine, which I needed to go. I was drinking a lot, so it was a good thing. But I didn't go, and then finally I saw a random one porta potty that I just decided to pull over, and that was a mistake. Because, of course, it was occupied, and I was waiting for longer than I should have. But, first race, I'm taking it easy, talk to the officers a little while. Then I get in, and then I go. So that was a time eater, but, you learn. Got off the bike. T2 was like 7-ish minutes. Still kind of slow, but you know. Get out on the run, and I had to tell myself, I knew this with practice, listening to podcasts, my coach, everybody. My legs feel great right after being warmed up for 7 hours on the bike. My time I think was 7 hours 15 minutes on the bike. And you want to go fast, like I was wanting to run. I mean, fast for me. Running's my strongest, but I'm still not like a fast runner. So I was wanting to go like 8s, 8:30s, but I knew I had to slow down. So I was letting myself, for the whole first run, part of the run, which is a 2-loop run. The run course is 2 loops. The first loop, every time I looked down at my watch, I was doing 9:30s. Minute miles, and I felt great. There were hills, but they were more like sneaky, gradual hills, not like crazy, like look like you're never going to make a hills. There was 2 of those. There's one really big hill, which I learned later was called the Subway Hill, I think. And the first time up that, the only walking I did through the whole race was through the aid stations. My coach advised that I do that so I can take my time getting my nutrition in, and I did. And I ran all the way up into it, walked through it, ran right after I was done. But that Subway Hill, the first time I walked it. And the second time, it was like mile, 23 by then. And my legs were shot, and I did walk that whole hill. So that took time. But once you get into town, the support is amazing. Crowds, I just love spectators. I love them all. I give them all the attention they want. I love it. It's a boost for me. So it was really good. I saw my family several times. My parents came with us and took the kids. My husband did the race with me. And the last 2 miles, you go up Mirror Lake, up a little out and back, and then as soon as you come back, you can hear Mike Riley announcing everybody to be an Ironman. It's a little messes with your mind when you're only on the first loop and you've only done half the marathon, and you go by the stage and he's announcing. But I don't know, I felt good that day, and I just was okay. It didn't bother me. I knew I'd be done in a matter of time. But man, when you turn that corner, the crowd support's still amazing, and you hear that, it's an emotional day, guys. Just lose it. And I had to hold back the tears, but gosh, it was a really good day. And I would do Lake Placid again for sure. It was a really good first experience. It definitely is not an easy course for a beginner, but I did it, and I did 14 hours and 22 seconds. And I tell myself, all the what ifs, I wouldn't have done this. What if I wouldn't have pet that little white fluffy dog? That literally would have been my 22 seconds right there, and I could have got it under. But you can't do that. It was my first one. Now I know where I can cut the time, and I'm an Ironman, and I'm going to do another one. I'm hooked, and I plan to do Ironman Arizona here November 20th. I'm already signed up, and told my coach, training again. So Ironman Arizona is flat, so we'll see what we do. Thanks, guys. Nutrition. I wanted to talk to you about nutrition. I'm not one of those that does all the math. I didn't do have it perfectly calculated or anything by any means, but my coach said somewhere around 50, 60 grams of carbs per hour on the bike, and she suggested to take a gel right before the swim. However, I did not, because I still felt pretty full actually and satisfied from breakfast, which breakfast was a peanut butter sandwich with a whole banana. So that lasted me, and I didn't feel like I needed it during the swim. By the time I got to transition, I, felt like I needed something. So I think I ate a bag. My whole nutrition through the whole ride was Garnettos. That something salty, something I enjoy. I don't know if my coach did not necessarily recommend Gardettes. She said a salty snack. So in the end, I think I would have done something a little easier to eat, maybe just like little baby pretzels or something, because I was shoving them in my mouth while holding on, and I look like a chipmunk with my cheeks were full, and I'd leave a little trail behind me, and they were good, and it did the trick. I got my salt in. So anyway, I ate some while I was in transition, and then I just kind of kept a bag. Always, I put all my bags in my back pocket of my tri-kit, and then I always had a bag up front on my bike, so I could just pull out and munch throughout the ride randomly throughout the hour. I notice if I do not eat enough on the hour, my stomach growls, and it gets really angry at me. So I did pretty good. If I get any hint of a growl, I would eat. I use Flow formula for my both nutrition and hydration. It actually already gives me the 50-ish carbs I need. So I was getting all the carbs I needed through both my Flow formula and my Gardettes. I packed 4 bottles on there, and I was planning to drink 1 an hour. However, on the descent of Keene, it got a little bumpy, and I lost a bottle on the first loop, which is fine. I replaced it with just a bottle of water, which by then I was thirsty. I still felt thirsty. Flow formula is super good. Highly recommend it, but I still feel like I need water, especially with all the Gardettes. I even had salt tabs with me. I had a few here and there, but I don't think I needed them. I guess Lake Placid was kind of unseasonably warm that year. People were complaining about the heat, which they go to, some people like Placid because it's known to be cooler, mild weather. Heat does not bother me, so I didn't think it was hot at all. I think it was mid-80s by the time, end of bike and run. I actually tolerate heat really well. Somehow, that is like one of my strengths. So I did fine. Then at mile 80, my coach suggested switching over from solids to chews. So I use Cliff block chews, like I've showed you in my videos before. Different flavors. Some have caffeine, some have extra sodium. The watermelons have like 2 times sodium. So I did at mile 80. I started switch over. Finished my Gardettes, and then just started eating chews. Worked wonderfully. And then all throughout the run, I'd only drink water then, so then I got to increase my salt for sure, and I just kept eating salt tablets. I probably took 4 an hour, I bet. And then my Cliff chews also had salt in them. I'm not one to take nutrition on the course. I don't ever practice with it. Never sounds good, and I'm okay with chews. So worked beautifully. Never once had any stomach issues, no leg cramps, nothing. I don't know. It just worked. I got lucky. That's going to be my plan for the next one. I mean, it worked, so we'll see. Hopefully I found the magic trick the first time around. But every race is different, so I'm still a little nervous, even though this one went fantastic. We'll see. So practice your nutrition really well because it is the 4th discipline and it is vitally important. I saw lots of people throwing up, lots of people cramps, stomach cramps. I mean, it's a long way, guys. It's a long ways. If it's your first one, do not skimp on the nutrition. Read about it, ask your coach about it, ask your teammates about it. It'll really do you good in the long run. And sometimes it's really tricky to figure out. I know my husband really struggled with leg cramps throughout the entire race. Halfway through the bike and the whole marathon. I would encourage you guys who sweat a lot, and girls too, to get a sweat test. I suggested that to him. Maybe he'll do that because I think some people sweat twice as much and lose that much more salt. Or I think magnesium is another one that you can get low on and cause muscle cramps. So we're not sure why. They did take him to the medical tent. He was there for a good hour and a half afterwards. He finished. He didn't need labs. His vital signs were good and all that. So, but we were curious, what his labs would look like. But he recovered. It took him longer to recover from his cramps, much longer than I did. I felt I was a little sore the next day, felt fine by the second day. So I do not know how my race went so well. I think the stars aligned that day. But if you guys do Lake Placid, I wish you all the best, and I hope you have a great day too.